Good evening, everyone. It is an honor to share with you the science and faith in my profession as nutritionist dietitian. For the presentation, there are two parts: nutrition and dietetics and spiritual meditation. For the first part, there are three subtopics: definition of terms, the science in nutrition, my practice as nutritionist dietitian. So, for the first part, let us define dietetics. It is the science and art of applying nutrition principles. It refers to the promotive, preventive, therapeutic, and administrative aspects of nutritional services in hospitals, food service, and other healthcare facilities. While nutrition is the science of dealing with foods, nutrients, eating habits, nutritional status, health, and diseases of individuals and populations. It covers the socioeconomic, environmental, cultural, political, and psychological implications of food and eating. The nutritionist dietitian is someone who, after graduating in nutrition, community nutrition, or nutrition and dietetics, takes the board exam and pass. This will license him to or her to practice nutrition and dietetics profession in the Philippines. So what is nutrition and dietetics profession? Uh, the profession involves in conducting research and setting the standards, guidelines, and policies in nutritional um, services. And the agency mandated to do these things is the Food and Nutrition Research Institute of the Department of Science and Technology. The profession also promotes quality products, implement programs such as barangay nutrition scholar program of the National Nutrition Council of the Philippines, project and services to individuals or populations. It provides medical nutrition therapy by applying nutrition care process, especially in tertiary hospitals. The science of nutrition is generated from a wide array of different studies such as mechanistic, cellular, biochemical, chemical, epidemiological, and clinical aspects to provide a consistent and replicable evidence, arriving to a common conclusion that support a theory to make practical recommendation to the population. Actually, nutrition can be defined in a very simple way. It is the study of food and how the body uses it. This is my favorite definition of nutrition. So, we learned from our studies that nutrients are the carbohydrates, refers to the carbohydrates, fats, protein, vitamins, minerals, and water in our food. And we are encouraged to take nutrient dense foods more and less of the caloric dense foods like our fatty and sugary food items. So there are two main types of nutrients: the macronutrients and the micronutrients. The source of macronutrients are the carbohydrates, fats, and protein-rich foods such as rice substitute, meat substitute, fats, and oil. While micronutrient source are your vegetables and fruits. Macronutrients contribute to the bulk energy needed for the metabolic system. Micronutrients help various functions of the body, growth and disease prevention. Um, for an example of scientific findings, let me discuss to you concepts related to energy, or pathways or scientific findings about energy. So the first one is giving us idea on the condition of energy balance. Okay, balance weight, it refers to the condition wherein calories eaten equals calories burned, while weight gain is the condition wherein calories eaten is more than the calories burned, and weight loss is the condition wherein calories eaten is less than the calories burned. Okay? For the metabolic processes of macronutrients such as carbohydrates, fats, and protein, uh, we refer to this illustration. Carbohydrates are further broken down into glucose to have a glucose pool that would supply nutrients for the metabolism in most tissues and brain, while fats is broken down into free fatty acids and glycerol, and again providing nutrients for the metabolism in most tissues, while it um, will be some of them will be stored as adipose, and for the stored form of glucose, it is stored as glycogen, and for protein, it is broken down into amino acids, and is used for protein synthesis of our body protein. Okay, in excess, acid can undergo gluconeogenesis to produce glucose, and when glucose is in excess, it will undergo lipogenesis and create more of your adipose tissues. Okay, so those are the scientific basis of many recommendations, like this table: recommended energy intakes per day. This is the Philippine Dietary Reference Intake uh, of 2015, developed by the Food and Nutrition Research Institute. So, for an example, children 1 to 2 years old will have recommendation for male, which is 1,000, and less for female, around 920. So, for adults and other conditions such as pregnant and lactating, this is the table reference standard for the age group and for the gender, different uh, gender. Another important standards is the acceptable macronutrient distribution ranges. The total energy should come from protein is 10 to 15%, while for fat it's 15 to 30, and for carbohydrates is 55 to 75 for adults aging from 19 years old and above. So, well, another example of recommendation is from World Health Organization guideline. Um, so for free sugars, it limit intake to less than 10% of the total energy in children and adults. For sodium, limit intake to less than 2 grams in adults, and potassium, increase intake to 3,510 milligrams in adults. This table is a nutrition tool for determining nutritional status of an individual. So this is called the Biomass Index Classification Reference Standard. You can compute for your own BMI to determine where you fall in this category. So you just need to compute for your weight in kilograms, divide it by your height in meters square, and the value you compare your actual value to this reference standards. For the cutoff for Asian is 23, while the cutoff for Caucasians and those who are bigger in build is 25. For this is a plot chart of nutritional status where we can that show that shows the different determinants like socioeconomic, political, as and this environment can affect the food security, quality of care, health, environment of the individual. They would also affect the dietary intake and health status. Um, in that would be affecting the nutritional status. Let's say your dietary intake is poor, as well as your health status is also poor, then it you will have a problem of malnutrition. Okay, so what is malnutrition? It is a health condition caused by a deficiency, imbalance, or excess of nutrients in the diet. So when macronutrients in the diet is problematic, then it can result to various conditions such as stunting, wasting, and obesity. Um, the graph in this presentation is the trends in the prevalence of malnutrition among children less than 5 years old in the Philippines from 1989 to 2015. As you can see, the extent and magnitude of malnutrition problem is in stunting, followed by underweight, then wasting, and last, overweight among Filipino children age less than 5 years old. Another illustration here is the multi-level framework for action in nutrition. As we can say now that malnutrition is multi-causal, multifactorial, multifaceted, so that our intervention should be interdisciplinary and multi-level in nature when we address this. So we can address malnutrition in the individual level or in the community or in the national level and then globally. Another example of standards and guidelines is the nutritional guidelines for Filipinos, also developed by the Food and Nutrition Research Institute. So the first one, eat variety of foods. Second, breastfeed exclusively from birth up to 6 months and then give complementary foods while continuing breastfeeding for 2 years and above. The third one is eat vegetables and fruit every day. Fourth, consume your protein rich food for growth and repair. And then fifth, consume milk products, small fish, and shellfish for healthy bones and teeth. Sixth, consume safe foods and water to prevent diarrhea and other diseases. Seventh, use iodized salt to prevent iodine deficiency disorders. Eighth, limit intake of salty, fatty, and sugar-rich foods to prevent cardiovascular diseases. And ninth, attain normal body weight through proper diet and moderate physical activity to maintain good health and help prevent obesity. And last, be physically active, make healthy food choices, manage stress, avoid alcoholic beverages, and do not smoke to help prevent lifestyle related non communicable diseases. Pinggang Pinoy is another guide for the populace, describing the visually what you have to put in your plate, the variety of food, and also the amount. And it is also encouraging us to stay physically active. This is a daily food guide for adolescents, adults, and elderly in using different food groups and uh, with the household measures for different age groups. So let's look at water and beverage in cups. We can see that there's a difference in the amount. For 16 to 18 years old, it's 10 to 13 cups, while for adults, it's 8 to 11 cups. So this will help us to eat better in quantity and also considering all the food groups. Okay. The Filipino Pyramid Activity Guide was conceptualized by the Philippine Association for the Study of Overweight and Obesity so that Filipinos would be encouraged to increase in physical activity. This is also a recommendation developed by DOH for the different uh, physical activity or exercise. Like, for example, in adults, uh, they recommended 30 minutes 5 times in a week exercise, dance, and recreation or sports. While for muscle strengthening and flexibility activities, the recommendation is 2 times per week on non consecutive days. Okay. For my practice as a nutritionist dietitian in Palawan, particularly in the hospital, I am responsible for managing the nutrition and dietetics service of the hospital, and we are mainly responsible for the patient meal service. The doctor may refer patients for nutritional counseling and education. The patient may be counseled as individual or with his relatives to sit in the counseling session. And I am also conducting coaching, mentoring, and monitoring for my staff. Also, I engage in the following activities: nutrition campaign in Nutrition Month, nutrition counseling and education in the community, field health profiling, networking, linking, and implementing nutrition activities with other nutritionists, dietitians, and of course, pursuing professional growth and development by attending seminars as well as conventions such as the Nutritionist Dietitians Association of the Philippines Convention and the Philippine Diabetes Convention. So here is a picture of some of my activities in the community. So nutrition counseling, nutrition campaign in Nutrition Month, involving in field health profiling, etc. So for us, coordinator of the Nutrition and Dietetics Service in Provincial Government of Palawan Hospitals, I am annually organizing and coordinating the consultative meeting. And for this picture, it is in 2019 with a seminar on meat substitute. Here is the picture of the nutritionist dietitian of Palawan with my boss, Engineer Salito M. Purisima. This picture was taken after the nutritional counseling in the hospital of Palawan for their nutrition month celebration. We also had radio broadcasting activity during this time. Here is a picture of the right shop on the final draft of the administrative order regarding nutrition care process with the DOH as the organizer of this activity. Okay. For the spiritual meditation, let me read Bible verses. First, man shall not live by bread alone, but on every word that cometh from the mouth of God. Second, God created man and his food nourishment. Third, God commanded man, you may surely eat of every tree of the garden, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat, for in the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die. Fourth, for as by one man's disobedience the many were made sinners, so by the one man's obedience the many will be made righteous. Fifth, Christ was crucified for, without the shedding of blood, there is no forgiveness of sins. Sixth, he entered once for all into the holy places, not by means of the blood of goats and calves, but by means of his own blood, securing an eternal redemption. Seventh, do not work for the food that perishes, but for the food that endures to eternal life. Eighth, Jesus said, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me shall not hunger, and whoever believes in me shall never thirst. With this, let me share my reflection. My science and faith tells me that my physical body is aging. The food and the body are perishing. They will wither like grass. And the spiritual well-being is eternal and supreme. It can only be nurtured by taking the bread of life that is the Lord Jesus Christ. With this, I would like to end my presentation. Thank you very much and good evening.